The Book of Enoch's throne vision in chapters 14 and 15 is genuinely one of the most studied passages in ancient Jewish mystical literature. Enoch approaches the divine presence through a series of structures: a wall of crystal, a house of fire, an inner chamber where the divine throne sits. Scholars including George Nicholsburg, Christopher Moray Jones, and Crispin Fletcher Louis have written at length about the throne vision and its relationship to the Merkavah mysticism tradition that developed from it in later Jewish and early Christian literature. What the authenticated texts do not contain, in any scholarly edition based on the Qumran Aramaic fragments or the Ethiopian Ge'ez manuscripts, is a continuation of that journey beyond the throne room to a physical boundary of the created universe, beings existing in a prior condition outside that boundary, or a passage describing the direction of the great attractor as the location where the boundary is thinnest. These specific claims are described in the source material as coming from a section headed "The Words of the Outer Journey" in the restricted Axum archive, corresponding to a fragment cluster designated 4Q Enoch O in Millick's private notes, referenced in a 1973 letter Millick wrote to Nicholsburg. As with every previous fabricated manuscript claim in this series, none of this appears in any verifiable peer-reviewed scholarly source. No such letter is documented in published Enoch scholarship. No such fragment cluster exists in the published record of the Qumran Enoch material. No lacuna in Charles's 1906 edition has been documented as a deliberate removal corresponding to this material. These claims should be held as unverified. What this documentary will cover is what the authenticated Enochic cosmological tradition genuinely says about the structure of the heavens and the boundary of creation, and what modern cosmology has genuinely found at the edge of the observable universe. Both are worth knowing accurately. Before we go further, subscribe now if this kind of textual and historical exploration is what you are here for. Every week this channel examines ancient texts, scholarly debates, and interpretive questions at the edges of mainstream scholarship. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. What the authenticated Enochic cosmological tradition describes. The Book of Enoch's cosmological framework, documented across the authenticated sections including the throne vision of chapters 14 to 15, the astronomical book of chapters 72 to 82, and the broader journey accounts, does describe a structured universe with a boundary. This is genuine textual content worth engaging with seriously. The throne vision in chapters 14 and 15 describes Enoch passing through layers of structure, walls, houses, chambers, before reaching the divine presence. The language is architectural and physical. George Nicholsburg's 2001 Hermeneia commentary characterizes this as one of the most detailed and architecturally specific heavenly journey accounts in any ancient Jewish text. His observation is documented in published scholarship. The astronomical book describes the outer boundaries of the created order, the gates through which the sun and moon pass, the storehouses of atmospheric phenomena, the edges of the habitable world. The cosmos in the Enochic framework has limits. This is a genuine feature of the authenticated text. Second Enoch, the Slavonic text, describes a seven-heaven structure with increasingly refined description of what lies at each level, up to and including the divine throne. The question of what lies beyond the highest heaven is one that the authenticated Enochic texts gesture toward without fully articulating, which is itself a genuine observation that scholars including Orlov have documented. Nicholsburg's observation that chapters 14 and 15 represent the innermost layer of a journey narrative is real and documented in his published commentary. The source material uses this observation as a launching point for the fabricated outer journey passage. Nicholsburg's observation itself, that the throne vision is an innermost layer, is a literary and structural observation about the text narrative architecture, not a claim that authenticated texts describe a journey beyond it. The cosmic microwave background, real science, accurately stated. The discovery of the cosmic microwave background radiation by Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson at Bell Laboratories in 1965 is real, documented, and represents one of the most significant observational confirmations of the Big Bang model. Penzias and Wilson received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1978 for this discovery. The CMB is the thermal radiation left over from the early universe, approximately 380,000 years after the Big Bang, when the universe cooled enough for photons to travel freely. It forms the observable boundary of our view of the early universe. Beyond it, The universe was opaque to light. In practical cosmological terms, the CMB represents the furthest we can see with light-based observation. The source material proposes that this corresponds to the Enochic boundary that generates light on its inner surface and is opaque on the outer surface. This is a proposed correspondence. The CMB is a real feature of the observable universe. Whether an ancient visionary text that describes a luminous boundary corresponds to this cosmological feature, or whether the description is broad enough to map onto many kinds of boundaries, is a question that the proposed reading cannot settle. The CMB cold spot, real anomaly, accurate context. The CMB cold spot is real and is a documented anomaly in cosmological data. It is a region in the southern sky, in the direction of the constellation Eridanus, where the CMB temperature is measurably lower than surrounding areas, approximately 0.000015 degrees Celsius colder, which is statistically significant given the uniformity of the CMB. The cold spot has been confirmed by multiple satellite missions, including WMAP and Planck. Its cause is genuinely debated within cosmology. The leading mainstream explanation is a large supervoid, a region of space with lower than average matter density that photons passing through it lose energy in, producing the observed temperature deficit. A 2015 paper by Istvan Sapudi and colleagues did identify a large supervoid in the direction of the cold spot, though debate continues about whether the supervoid's size fully accounts for the observed temperature deficit. Laura Massini-Houghton of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill has published work arguing that the cold spot could be evidence of interaction between our universe and a neighboring universe in a multiverse framework. This is a real published proposal. It is a minority theoretical position within cosmology that has not achieved mainstream consensus. The multiverse framework itself remains speculative. It is a theoretical possibility within some models of inflationary cosmology, not an established finding. The source material proposes that the cold spot corresponds to the location in the Enochic passage where the boundary is thinnest and the prior condition presses closest. Since the outer journey passage is unverified, this correspondence cannot be evaluated. The cold spot is real. Its proposed connection to an Enochic passage is an alternative research claim built on an unverified textual foundation. The Great Attractor, real and remarkable. The Great Attractor is a real and extensively studied feature of the large-scale structure of the universe. It is a region of gravitational anomaly in the direction of the Centaurus supercluster, toward which the Milky Way and millions of surrounding galaxies are moving at approximately 600 kilometers per second. The gravitational source responsible for this motion is partially obscured from direct observation by the plane of our own galaxy. The Milky Way's dust and gas block the view in that direction at optical wavelengths. Radio and X-ray observations have partially penetrated this zone of avoidance and have identified galaxy clusters and superclusters in the direction of the Great Attractor. The Laniakea supercluster, the vast cosmic structure of which the Milky Way is a small part, was mapped in 2014 by Brent Tully and colleagues, and that work identified the broader gravitational basin toward which Laniakea is falling. The Great Attractor is not fully resolved as a single gravitational source. It appears to be part of a larger structure extending further into the zone of avoidance, sometimes referred to as the Shapley concentration. Current research continues to refine our understanding of the large-scale gravitational structure in this direction. The source material proposes that the Great Attractor corresponds to the drawing described in the unverified Enochic passage, the direction toward which everything in the created universe is being pulled. Since the outer journey passage is unverified, this correspondence cannot be evaluated. The Great Attractor is real and remarkable on its own terms. The axis of evil, real alignment, active debate. The large-scale alignment in CMB fluctuations called the axis of evil informally by cosmologists is real and documented. Analysis of WMAP and Planck satellite data has found that certain large-scale modes of CMB temperature fluctuations appear to align along a preferred direction in the sky rather than being randomly oriented as the standard cosmological model predicts. This alignment is statistically significant enough that it has generated genuine discussion in the cosmological community. Proposed explanations include topological effects, the shape of the universe, systematic errors in the data, and new physics not captured in the standard cosmological model. No consensus explanation has been established. The finding is informally called the axis of evil because it appears to challenge the cosmological principle, the assumption that the universe has no preferred direction. Whether it reflects a genuine preferred direction in the universe, or a statistical artifact, or a systematic error, is an active question in observational cosmology. The source material connects this to the Enochic description of a universe with a preferred direction, the direction of the drawing. Since the outer journey passage is unverified, this correspondence cannot be evaluated. The alignment is real, and its explanation is genuinely debated. Dark energy, real, genuinely mysterious. Dark energy is real and is one of the most significant puzzles in modern physics. It comprises approximately 68% of the total energy content of the universe, and is the name given to whatever is causing the expansion of the universe to accelerate rather than slow down under gravity. Its physical nature is unknown. The simplest mathematical description is the cosmological constant, a constant energy density of empty space. But why empty space should have the precise energy density it appears to have, and whether that energy density is truly constant or whether it changes over time, are questions that theoretical physics has not resolved. Multiple competing frameworks, quintessence models, modified gravity theories, and others have been proposed. None has achieved consensus. The source material proposes that dark energy behaves consistently with external pressure applied to the universe's boundary from outside, the prior condition pressing against the wall of first silence. This is a proposed interpretive correspondence between a cosmological measurement and an unverified ancient text. Dark energy's physical explanation is unknown. That unknown does not by itself validate any specific ancient text's proposed description of its source. What the authentic Enochic cosmological tradition offers. What the authenticated sections of First Enoch, the Throne Vision, the Astronomical Book, and the Journey accounts genuinely offer is a sustained ancient engagement with the question of the cosmos's structure, its outer limits, and what divine governance of that structure looks like. The Merkavah mysticism tradition that developed from the Enochic throne vision, documented in 2nd and 3rd Enoch and in the Hecalot literature, does engage with questions about what lies at the outermost reaches of the heavens. Andrei Orlov of Marquette University, whose published work on the Enoch Metatron tradition is among the most detailed in the field, has written about the Enochic tradition's engagement with the question of what lies beyond the structures the text describes. Whether any authenticated text within that tradition describes a physical boundary of the observable universe, beings existing outside it, or specific cosmological anomalies, is a question whose honest answer is not in any form that peer-reviewed Enoch scholarship has confirmed. What is established and what is not? What can be independently verified? The throne vision in Enoch chapters 14 to 15 is in the authenticated text and extensively studied. The Enochic cosmological framework describes a structured universe with limits. The CMB is real and represents the observational boundary of the early universe. The CMB cold spot is real, documented by Planck and WMAP, and its cause is debated. The Great Attractor is real and extensively studied. The CMB axis of evil alignment is real and without consensus explanation. Dark energy is real and its physical nature is unknown. Nickelsburg's observation about chapters 14 to 15, as the innermost layer of a journey narrative, is in his published commentary. What has not been verified, the outer journey passage, and all its specific content. The 4Q Enoch O fragment designation, Millick's 1973 letter to Nickelsburg, the lacuna in Charles's 1906 translation as a deliberate removal, the unverified Princeton paper, none appear in any verifiable scholarly or scientific record. What this documentary does not endorse, the claim that any of the cosmological anomalies described, cold spot, great attractor, axis of evil, dark energy, confirm or are connected to any authenticated Enochic text. Each is a genuine cosmological finding worth understanding on its own terms. The genuine Enochic cosmological tradition, the throne vision, the astronomical book, the Merkavah literature it generated, represents one of the most sustained ancient engagements with the structure of the heavens in any surviving ancient Jewish text. Its influence on Jewish mysticism, early Christian theology, and the broader development of Western cosmological thinking has been extensively documented in peer-reviewed scholarship. The cosmological anomalies described in this documentary, the CMB cold spot, the great attractor, the axis of evil alignment, dark energy, are each genuine features of the observable universe that physics has measured but not fully explained. They are worth knowing accurately. They do not require connection to an unverified ancient text to be remarkable. Whether there is genuine correspondence between what ancient visionaries described as the outer reaches of a structured cosmos and what modern cosmology has found at the edges of the observable universe is a question worth holding honestly open rather than answering prematurely in either direction. This documentary examines historical, textual, and scientific topics for educational purposes only. The outer journey passage described in the source material has not been confirmed in any authenticated Enoch manuscript through peer-reviewed scholarship. All cosmological findings referenced, CMB cold spot, great attractor, axis of evil alignment, dark energy, are real, publicly documented, and available in peer-reviewed sources. No connection between these findings and any ancient text is implied by their inclusion. Viewers are encouraged to consult peer-reviewed cosmology and Enoch scholarship for established findings.